The speech that I gave is called The Science of Wave Making. And so it's an intentional play on reimagining yourself beyond the science of wave making, right? And saying we learn the science of wave making, but when you think about the metaphor of a wave maker as a change maker, as an action maker, as a pacemaker, et cetera, we have to push ourselves beyond the science of ourselves, because the science of ourselves is based on what we know, how it's been done, et cetera. And I think what CUNA is trying to do here is to go advocate for not now, but tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow, not now, but the future, and to say, here's what it should be, here's what it can be, if we push ourselves beyond what it is. And in order to do that, it takes someone being bold enough to go against the existing paradigm. And I think that's what brings you all here. That's what sends you out to Capitol Hill.
Sure.
And that's what has you, advocating and repping and riding for your members.
And there's a little bit of agitation involved. You
Absolutely.
Said like that, I think you said like that annoying little kid in the pool.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little bit? It made so much sense when you talked about it.
I use the metaphor splash, splash, right?
Yes,
I hope everybody goes out there and keeps splashing, because, I talk about sort of like you can't be a wave maker if you're afraid of getting wet.
Right.
You can't be a wave maker if you're afraid of getting your hair wet, if you're afraid of getting your clothes wet. You've got to be the one that says, I'm going to go jump in it first and make the biggest splash. And I think that's what's needed as an advocate, is you're saying, I need to go make a splash in this industry because the waters have fallen still with complacency, still with convention, still with how it's always been done. And that will never change until someone is brave enough to go make that leaping cannonball, jump in and make a splash that then creates the ripple effect that communities will feel for years and decades after.
And you talked about the importance of storytelling and imagination. And as credit unions do that, as you said, it's not just one story. As credit unions tell these stories, there's all kinds of stories out there. And that's why it's important that each credit union tells its story. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, and it's also why I include my stories, right?
Right.
And why it is that even someone like me is brought in. What does a spoken word poet and a poetic voice have to do with credit unions, right? Well, it's the same thing that I have to do with diabetes, which I'm speaking about on Monday, and then cybersecurity, which I'm speaking about on Tuesday, and then women's shoes, which I'm speaking. At the end of the day, it's not about the industry. It's about who we are as human beings and the capacity that we have to make an impact. And when you think about the human beings that are in this room, the human beings that have come to CUNA representing their credit unions, they are people that are saying, we see a change needs to happen. And one of the ways that we're going to be to be able to impact communities most is through the power of storytelling. That can be our sort of vehicle and our superpower for being an agent of change. And so the more people are embracing storytelling, the more that we get underneath the differences of our industries and how we're nothing like each other, and we begin to find our sameness. So as I tell stories about creating poetic voice against the speaking world, the speaking industry, or going to get a Grammy nomination against the music industry and against convention, people begin to find themselves in my story. They begin to see, oh wow, it is possible. Oh wow, I could do that. And when you think about being a wave maker and being an agitator, it is scary. Like, you have to have a certain level of bravery and courage and boldness to do that. And one of the things that can inspire that boldness in us is the stories of those who have come before us, the wave makers, the lightning makers, the people that walked into the dark and said, I will be the light. The people that walked through the wilderness and said, there will be a path here, give me a minute. Hearing those stories empowers us to say, I could be that next person to do that.